All right, you guys tuning in today on Chasing Birdies. We are joined by an entrepreneur, a clothing mecca, and anybody with the name Billy Draddy is obviously a cool dude by my standard. So we have Billy Draddy on the podcast today. As you may know, his clothing line, B Draddy, and other lines as well in his business. So we appreciate you coming on the show today.
Oh, you got it, guys. Excited to be here.
You know, our whole premise of the show is chasing birdies, whether it's on the course or in life. And you kind of encapsulate that. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
So you're living down the road. I know that you're doing this from your car, but we just took a nice little golf trip with a mutual friend of ours, Vincent Trocek. And he had said, oh, dude, I live right down the road from him. So
oh, yeah.
Up there in Rye,
He's been
New
a great
York.
addition to the area. Yeah, he's been a great addition to the area. My wife, I actually met, I met him through my wife, actually, because my wife's a decorator, and she's done some work for the Rangers guys because a lot of them, come in and out of town, and they need to get their pads up to date quickly.
Yeah.
And so she's good in helping out with that. But quickly got to know him also through a mutual friend, a guy named Matt Bagley, who had become great friends with JT when he was in town, and with their history together, when Vinny moved to town, he immediately lined him up with Matt, who is he's like the godfather of Rye.
Well, that's his member guest partner, and I've heard all about the Wingfoot member guest that's happening here in a few weeks. And Bagley's his partner. So, and that was a nice little deal. I know you're a diehard Rangers fan, which we're from Pittsburgh, so sorry, but getting JT Miller back with the band, that was a nice addition. He's a great golfer too. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to play golf with him yet, but he pounds it.
Oh yeah. No, I heard he's going to try and qualify for the Open this year.
Yeah, he did that last year too, in Pittsburgh. So I think he's going to give it another go here. I think it's actually this week. So
hey,
yeah,
Bill,
you got to have your game together if you're going to try and do that. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. I love how Pep apologized when he said, we're from Pittsburgh, but you guys are closer to winning a cup than the Penguins are.
Oh yeah,
we go.
There's not a chance in the world we're closer.
Well, last year, look at you guys.
Yes, you are.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
I can't wait to hear, and I don't know if I'll ever know, like what went down with the Rangers this year. Like it was, it went from being like you're like, all right, we're on the cusp. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're not even going to make the playoffs. This is like, and it's almost like if you kind of know you're rebuilding, you're already like, all right, well, if we make the playoffs, that'll be great. But if we don't, we're rebuilding,
Right.
But when you're like expected to go to the conference finals of the Stanley Cup and you don't even make the playoffs, like that distance you've traveled emotionally is greater,
Well, and that's the thing too, is that like you guys were in the conference finals last year, essentially the same team, but your core was there, and for that to happen, I don't know. But you got a new head coach, which he's coming from Pittsburgh. That's going to be a good one for you guys. Yeah, he's going to be really good for you guys. So I think his time in Pittsburgh was over. I think he kind of lost the team. He was here a little too long. Which that happens in coaching. And so I think it's going to be a nice addition to the Rangers. I know Vince is really excited. I mean, again, we were just with him, and he's really excited for the upcoming year. So,
well, yeah, I think they should just build the team around those two, JT and Vince, because, I mean, they're just the way they both play. It's a very kind of like New York personality, where they just kind of leave it all on the ice. They're a little bit edgy, kind of hit first, ask questions later, definitely. I mean, I love the way both of them play.
Well, they play golf opposite of what you just described, their hockey nature. I can tell you that. Vince is very quiet and reserved on the golf course. He's just strolling. Now, sometimes he's double fisting with his drinks of choice.
Yeah.
But, he's no hard hitting out there, And I tell you what, though, we went to Ireland a couple years ago, and Vince was on a trip. His golf game since 23 to 25, big time. Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, he shot 3 under on the back nine at Peachtree.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Right?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
shot 33, and it was ho hum. Like, I didn't even know that it was done. I played with him. I'm like, what? 33? So,
Yeah, well, I always say if you gave me the choice of a football player, basketball player, baseball player, or a hockey player in my foursome, I would take the hockey player every single time.
Yeah.
Because, a slap shot is all you need, to hit a golf ball, and their hands are unbelievable. So it's not like they could just hit the ball hard.
right.
They've got that touch, yeah, I mean, they're all hustlers, so I would always take a hockey player on my team for sure.
And they're not scared to fight either. You get some knuckleheads behind you hitting into you.
No, I
you know
know.
what? They're gonna
I
be
know.
barking. Be like, knock it
I
down
know.
back there, eh? What are you doing?
Well, and I think that's the hard thing for contact sport athletes to learn about golf is that I come from a family of football players, and like when you make a bad play, you just come out and hit someone harder the next time, and it's not. That's not the modus operandi in golf. You gotta forget everything that just happened on the last shot and live in the moment and all that kind of stuff, which I'm not good at.
Well, I'll tell you what you are good at is clothing. And for those of you who don't know, Billy Draddy they have Summit brands, which is B Draddy, Zero Restriction, Fairway and Green, and EP, which is the women's side of things. And I will tell you, this past weekend, there were 6 of us, and I can't tell you. I think we were at Peachtree and Sage Valley, and I think everyone took home a B Draddy or Zero piece.
Definitely.
And that's cool because you've got all these different personalities and different vibes, but somehow Zero Restriction. I feel like Zero Restriction's really made a turn on just pieces and things like that. And B Draddy with the pocket polo, like I really want to hear this pocket polo story because I love that. That is one of my favorite golf shirts. You throw it on, you go to the pool, you throw it on with jeans. Like it's the all wear piece.
Well, you just encapsulated what we were hoping to do. When I started, you'd walk into a golf shop and ask them where their cotton golf shirts were, and they didn't even know what you were asking. They looked at you like you had, 3 heads, and there wasn't any, really any cotton out in the marketplace. And so when we started, I didn't want to get into arguments with golf pros about whether or not people want to wear cotton to play golf. The way I always phrased it to them was, listen, if you had a fruit stand, and even if you could sell more oranges than apples, you would still carry apples because you'd get incremental business. And so that was kind of our MO. And I didn't even care if people wore the shirt to play golf in. We wanted the people to wear the shirt the rest of the day, when you're leaving the club, when you're going to watch your kid play sports, when you're going out with your boys. I wear them to go to sleep in. They're so comfortable. So we would rather have people wear them all those other times and say, you want to know what, I'm going to wear a tech shirt to go play golf than not to wear it at all. So you kind of nailed exactly what our goal was.
So how did you come up with the pocket polo? Because it's got that vintage feel to it, and I know a lot of companies are doing it. But again, a lot of these companies have their niche markets, right? Your Johnny O's, your Red Valley's known for their shorts. B Draddy, when you think of B Draddy, you instantly think of that classic cotton pocket polo. Where did that come up from?
Well, I'm the 3rd generation in my family in the clothing business, and so I have this. I've got a multi-generational archive in my head of things that that my father's business was selling, grandfather's business was selling. So there was this. My family was involved with Izod Lacoste, and there was this old Izod Lacoste shirt that they did that was very similar to the Draddy fabric. It had a pocket on it, and it had the gator in the upper corner of it. And it was one of my favorite shirts growing up. The difference was it had a knit collar as opposed to this self collar. So that was the main difference with it. But that was kind of my inspiration. We then, in terms of the fabric, I had worked at Bobby Jones and I'd worked at Polo, and I had always tried to launch this soft cotton polo, something that's really soft. So I had kind of figured out through trial and error that, the Peruvian Pima cotton was the softest that you could find. And so I applied that with just a little bit of Lycra, so that you could get that tech feeling to it when you put it on, that it would stretch with you, that it would have memory to it. It also helped kind of like with the wash and wear, the spandex does. So we kind of took an old idea, combined it with a newer, modern fabric, and, the pocket was always part of it. And so, the thing that we went out to the clubs with was that we would be able to embroider it, right up here in the corner of the pocket, which was kind of the look. And so we had kind of a secret way that we were going to do that in our warehouse in Wisconsin, and it ended up working. So that's kind of like the origin story behind the cotton pocket polo.
It is one of my favorite polos go-to pieces, just because of what you said. Like it's a memory piece. Like it just fits to your body. It's so soft. I feel like after washes, it gets softer and softer, and I could be wrong.
Exactly. No, it does. It gets better with time. And we have people that went to our launch party, I guess, 13 years ago now, or 12 years ago now. And, they're like, I've still got it. I'm still wearing it once a week, and it's incredibly soft. My wife won't let me, throw it out. Or I want to throw it out, or my wife wants to throw it out. I won't let her throw it out. It does. It's like an old pair of jeans, it does get better with age. And that's the beauty of cotton.
I just went to, we were at Grove. I got one with the Grove 23 Black Panther on it. And it is,
wow.
It's beautiful, right? And people notice it because of that little pocket's leaning forward just a hair. And I love what you guys are doing, stamping the logos on the inside of the shirt, kind of customizing it to each club. That's really a cool touch too. So, and it's something that you're doing differently than all other brands out there.
Well, that is kind of like my design philosophy, is that, if someone else is doing it, then we don't need to be doing it. We always want to be creating something new that causes a need to act. I don't have anything like that. And mostly with zero, that's most important. You always have to push the technology, and zero restriction is my favorite thing to design because of that. You're always kind of pushing the technology, trying to create something that guys don't have in their wardrobe. And it's a really satisfying brand to work for too, because if the quality is there, price really isn't an object, because it delivers on the price value relationship. So so I love that part of the design process, is just creating unique stuff.
The thing about the polos is, with that cotton blend, that's probably why it wears well in the heat. Because I have a couple of the shirts as well, and I know it well. They're awesome. They're really cool, and I like the little ball marker. I feel like it's a ball marker that comes with the tag or something.
You got it.
It's pretty rad.
You guys got the details down.
Yeah,
I love it.
For sure. That's what I know. But the point is that it's not one of those shirts that's just gonna like wet on you and like, it's a comfortable cotton shirt to wear. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, the difference, just what you're feeling is, all of the tech fabrics, and we make tech fabrics, so I'm not saying anything bad about them. They're all hydrophobic, which means that they resist water. So that's why you feel dry in them, but you actually sweat more because they're not as breathable as cotton is. So people feel like you sweat less because your shirt's not absorbing it. You're actually sweating more, so you're hotter, but it just doesn't breathe as well as cotton.
That's it. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
That's an interesting point you make there, because I notice every time that I'm wearing one of the new tech shirts, and I feel like someone comes out with a tech shirt every other week. But anyways, every time I wear it, I smell under my armpit, and it's not just like body odor. It's like it's a weird thing. But when I wear a normal cotton shirt, no, I do. But I'm just saying, like, what he's saying is probably true. Like, your body's probably hotter in that type of material, and I notice it more wearing that than opposed to one of your shirts. 100%.
Yeah. Well,
100%.
what happens is the cleaning detergents don't get the sweat out of the garment. So it kind of like permanently lives there. So once you start sweating, once it gets heated, it activates that sweat that's been living there. I mean, I've got 4 boys that play hockey. It's a lesser version of what a hockey bag is, where you can't get rid of, that sweat that's just permanently in the jersey and in the equipment. It's the same thing with the golf shirts. It holds on to the sweat. And so when you start sweating again, it reactivates it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that. And
that's really cool.
But you constantly, Billy, in your business, like right now we're in May and you are probably working on spring of 26. What are you doing right now?
No, I am done with fall of 26.
So you just got done with fall of 26.
Fall 26. So, yeah, I just finished. Yeah.
God,
So how do you guys know like the color palettes and things for fall of 26?
Well, our brand, each of the brands has its own kind of like color
vibe,
DNA. Draddy, because we do a lot of cotton. You always do stuff that takes the cotton well. So the colors always have to be kind of bright because cotton kind of knocks down the color, the vibrancy of the color. And zero is more of an active palette, kind of like colors that you'd see in a pair of sneakers or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're always kind of just looking, for Zero specifically, I'm always looking at colors of sneakers when I'm thinking about what colors we're going to use for the jackets.
That's pretty cool.
So as I had mentioned, you have zero restriction, and I actually was on the website probably about 2 weeks ago scrolling, looking at, there's this white rain jacket with a hood with orange, and orange is my favorite color. So I'm like, yeah, this is tempting.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the difference between you guys and say a Shoes in the rainwear, right? Because I think, people, Shoes is in a lot of pro shops, right? It's that $500 to $700 garment that people are just not even batting an eye at.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that there's really not that much different, in terms of, I know that we use the same fabric manufacturers that they do. And, so, in terms of, that would be one company that I would say the performance, there really is the performance, whether or not you're going to stay dry when the worst weather in the world is happening around you. There's really no difference in terms of the performance. And that would probably be the only brand I would say that about. But in terms of everything else, it's just styling and fit, in terms of the real technical performance, it's the same. We both guarantee the waterproofness of our garments for the life of the garment. So, you've got that ultimate guarantee. And then it just comes down to personal styling. So, that would be the only real difference I would say. I think they probably charge a little bit more for theirs, but I don't know. I shouldn't even say that. I don't even know their pricing that well, but, but in terms of the quality, I would say there's no difference.
I think it's so, and I don't know why, but, wearing outerwear in the rain and playing golf, it's amazing that these guys on tour, like, it doesn't affect them. I don't think it does. You see them wearing it whenever they have to and they're swinging. Me, I don't know why. It's like mentally, I don't know if it's long sleeves or what. I don't know what it is, but I just have an issue all the time wearing rain gear.
Yeah.
And that's,
well, I think it comes down to, part of it's mental. We hear, because,
so.
We've done like the President's Cup and stuff like that. So you get 15 different guys, all who are supposed to wear the same jacket or something like that. And each guy has their own thing. Some guys don't like full zips, when they're out there playing. Some guys like you don't like to have a full sleeve. They need a half sleeve. So when we go about doing a team event like that, we create, 3 or 4 jackets for the whole team so that they all have something that kind of fits within their own, it's really their own mental state, because clearly, someone like Tom Watson can put on a jacket and he can win 5 British Opens and it doesn't bother him at all. But, everyone's different,
Well, I was just with, actually in October, I was just with a Billy Draddy staffer in Jim Furyk. and he had that hoodie. I forget what hoodie he had on, and we got talking about the outfitting of the President's Cup that you guys did with the zero restriction and all that, and all that went into it. Like, people don't realize that the captain has to make those decisions, right? I mean, he even went into, there's out of 15 guys, there's 12 different golf balls that they're playing, and he has to make sure that they all line up with different people. He's sending golf balls here and there, and I'm sure to an extent it's a lot of that for you guys too. You're sending them all these jackets, and they're picking one that they feel comfortable with. But that hoodie that he had on, I think it might be, is it the Proctor or?
Oh yeah.
Well, yes. I got that version in the cashmere, the 100% cashmere from Laurel Valley from our boys Chris McKnight and Shane, and they did you guys did the little pink right here with the pink drawstring.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah, it was custom for them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the price was custom too, but
yeah.
I'm still paying it off.
Yeah.
I asked them for a payment plan.
You guys play some unbelievable golf courses. I've been in the golf business for fucking 25 years, and I haven't played the courses you guys are playing. Unbelievable.
Well,
Billy,
you're talking to America's guest.
You're playing the Grove, Laurel Valley. I mean, just Peachtree, just in one call. You guys have name dropped like 3 heavies. Like
Billy, I don't get labeled America's guest for nothing. Okay, it's a name that I take, and I've earned it.
Clearly, you welcome it.
I just, the guy that hosted us down at Sage Valley, he's like, hey, maybe in the fall we can have Pep plan us a golf trip. I'm like, Peppy has a PhD in golf trip planning. There's no two ways about it. And if he can't get on right away, he will get on at some point. There's
some capacity.
Absolutely no question. It's funny as hell.
Hey, Pep, does anyone ever tell you your voice sounds like John C. Reilly's? You know, the brother from, the guy from Talladega Nights?
Yeah, Step Brothers. Yeah. No.
I mean, I picture my Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt.
I picture my Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt.
Yes, it's the same. There's something to it. Like, I like to party with my Jesus.
Yeah.
You remember that Spider Monkey guy or whatever his name was?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to come on you Spider Monkey, Chip.
Yeah.
We were sitting down there at Old Hickory in Nashville, and this cat comes up, and he sits down. He's starting to play guitar, and Pep's talking to him, and he told Pep something about him. He was in the movie, and he was the brother that, Spider Monkey, whatever. And I'm like, hey, buddy, I said, honest to God, I'm not trying to offend you, but I can't tell you. I never watched that movie. I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
No way.
That's what I said, dude.
Pep went straight fanboy on him and pulled up YouTube.
Oh,
but
yeah. I mean, we've
funny.
watched it. It's got to be, I'm going to say 50, but it could be 100 times in my house. Now, I've got 4 teenage boys, so, like, our level of humor, that's, like, the sweet spot, like, and, like, the ultimate quotable movie, like, shut up, Chip,
Yeah, yeah, and that's him. And it was him. It was hysterical. I'm like, this kid, you're the most quoted kid I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He can play the guitar, though.
Yeah, he can play the guitar.
Oh,
that's
really?
for sure. Yeah, it's incredible. So you have as you've mentioned, you have a long list of history in your family in the garment business. Is that kind of how you got started with your career path? Watching your grandfather, your dad, because you're around it so much, and I would say that Draddy and Zero, it's a luxury item, right? Nobody needs a $120 polo. So how did you get into that, following your family's footsteps?
Well, you're around it, and you don't even realize it. I'm sure, you guys, your parents were, obviously had some sort of business they were in, and you don't even realize that when you grow up around it, you're just by osmosis, you're just absorbing all this stuff. And actually, when I graduated from college, I had gotten a job with a clothing company, and my dad convinced me not to do it. And he said, listen, you can always go into that. Why don't you try something else for 2 years? And then if you want to come back to it, you can come back to it. And which was, great advice. But I mean, once I got a year into doing something else, I was counting the days until I could get into the clothing business. And, I understand where he was coming from. He always wanted to be in the restaurant business, and he got into the clothing business because that's what his family was in. And he eventually got into the restaurant business. But this was what I always wanted to be in. And so when I was in college, I had started working for Timberland, and so I worked for them through my last 2 years of college, and then an opportunity came up to go work for them and learn design on the job from the guy that was designing the Timberland clothing. So it kind of took my career in a different path than what my father or grandfather had done, and it gave me the opportunity to learn design on the job, which was an incredible opportunity.
That's a great story.
So was your father and grandfather, were they in the suit industry, or were they in the golf wear?
No, in the sportswear. So the Izod Lacoste. You guys are probably too young when, Izod and Lacoste were married until 1990 or something like that. And then Izod had to sell the right to the Alligator back to the parent French company. So yeah, they were both involved with that for, probably 40 years, something like that.
I remember I used to love that. It's not even cotton. What material was that classic?
No, it's cotton piqué. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cotton piqué.
In college, I had so many Lacoste polos, and I remember that when I was in college, that was when the double collar, you'd wear 2 freaking polos and pop the collars.
Yeah.
You did that?
Yeah, but I did that. I mean, I look like
I didn't even do that. Now I was getting them for free. Jesus.
Yeah. So I was rocking an orange with a yellow double collar popped, showing up to college parties. I got photos. Did you want them? I got them.
I bet you picked up all kind of chicks looking like that.
Yeah.
Or actually probably the.
I know what you were gonna say.
I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
Good. But yeah, that's, it's, I always think, because we have a buddy, Ep and I have a buddy, Steve Peering, who's been in the clothing world forever on the sales side. And, he sits there and he'll look at your shirt and he can tell you what it is. Like 85% polyester, 15% that, 12%, whatever. But, and he does a great job. It's a phenomenal job. But the point being is, I always have thought that, and you're established, so this doesn't apply to you by any stretch, but these new golf, you always see these new brands coming out, McCade, other companies that are just trying to enter into the golf clothing space. And I just look back, I'm not knocking them, because I'd love anyone that tries and has an idea and wants to bring it to fruition. That's phenomenal. But I just feel like it is such a crowded space. If you are just like, what could you do different? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what you got to find. You got to find that, that different product that the world is needing, and it's different, as time goes by, it evolves. Like when I was starting, I said there was no cotton golf shirts in the market at the time. So it was a great opportunity for me to kind of launch what I was launching. The world changes, there's so much information now coming out about all these tech fabrics and what they do to your hormones and everything like that. We're not there now, but there's going to be a point where we're all going to be wearing natural fiber clothing again. And, all this stuff that's kind of man-made is, at the end of the day, it's not good for you. It's kind of like organic food. When Whole Foods started out, everyone's like, well, why would I pay twice as much for organic food when I could go to Food City and, get it at half the price? But then you realize that, all the stuff they're putting into the food isn't good for you.
Yeah.
And now everyone shops at Whole Foods. So it's going to be kind of the same thing in clothing where, all the chemicals that go into making these tech products, they're just not good for you and they're not good for the environment. So, we're all going to be, back to wearing cotton and wool and cashmere and all that kind of stuff. Not tomorrow, not in 5 years, but definitely as time goes by. Yeah.
You had mentioned Steve Peering, and he does a really good job because, we talk about niche markets, and, somebody that has a niche that does extremely well on it is Red Vanley with their bottoms, right? They have a niche.
Yes.
And
yeah, totally.
They're very comfortable, and Steve will come to us and say, hey, what do you like about that short? What fit do you like? Are you looking for like an 8-inch short or a 10-inch short? Because he's trying to do some R&D and take it back to his team. And I appreciate that because, like Ryan said, I'm in the jewelry business, and in the bridal business, we have so many competitors, but what makes you different, right? The quality of the product, the service you can provide, the pricing you can provide at that high quality. So I get it, and it is every industry has that competitiveness. You just got to separate yourself in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, striving to have the best quality is always a differentiator. If you're trying to have the best, if you can create something that is just of a higher quality than what's out there, that is a point of differentiation. I mean, Red Vanley is a great example. They created a waistband that wasn't in the golf market, and all of a sudden everyone was wearing small,
Pull-ups.
medium, large golf shorts.
Yeah.
It was a great concept. So innovation always will create an openness in the market, for sure.
Do you have any brand ambassadors on tour?
Yeah, for sure. Our first one was Zach Blair.
Okay.
And he's kind of like, he's a great brand ambassador because of exactly what I said. Like, he's just, he does things just a little bit differently. He's a tour pro, but he also just opened up the Tree Farm, which has always been a goal of his. He's kind of an artist himself.
Yeah.
So he was our first tour pro. And then we've got other guys like, Taylor Moore and Brian Harmon and Victor Perez, and, a good balance. Not the most guys out there, but a couple guys every week that are going to compete, even in the majors. Like Harmon has been a great representative for us.
Steady Eddie, yep.
He was in the mix a couple weeks ago at Harbortown.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing some good G. I mean,
so what does that do to your brand for people that don't understand when an ambassador wins? What does that do to your brands the week after or a couple weeks after? Do you feel like your traffic on your site kind of goes up a little bit? Sales just a hair? What does that do for you guys as an organization?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, it doesn't transform a brand or anything like that. Certain guys, as I say, sell shirts more than others. A guy like Ricky Fowler, even though he hasn't won any majors, he's probably done more for Puma Golf than all their tour pros combined. There's just certain personalities that really kind of uplift the brand. And, Tiger did the same thing with Nike. Freddie Couples did it with Ashworth. There's just certain personalities that can really uplift a brand. And so if you have one of those, then it's a big deal. But, with our guys, they're just good guys for the brand. And we like them as much as they like us. And in all the cases, either they or their agents came to us as like, listen, I love the product. I'd love to wear it on tour. And that's kind of the starting point, because I always feel kind of funny about just paying a guy to wear something, I'd much rather have it be, this is what I want to wear.
right.
Well, I was just going to say that. Like, you're not going to have a Ricky Fowler come to you and wear Billy Draddy. And no knock to either one of you, but that's not his vibe, right? Like, he's just not, it's not him. So like, it's better to get somebody like a Brian Harmon or a Zach Blair that's their vibe. They look good in it. They actually believe in the product. They wear the product off camera too. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. When they're out to dinner with their wife or girlfriend, they're wearing it. And that's how actually we got Victor Perez. Was like, he had just finished with Laura Piana, and he's like, he likes wearing cashmere sweaters, and so he had picked up a couple of our products, and his agent reached out, and it just ended up being a perfect marriage of the two brands.
We had Stephen Malbon on the show a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And you talk about opposite ends of the spectrum with you and that brand. I mean, and again, it's absolutely not
all
knocking
good.
anything.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But he's got his vibe going on with his thing, and he's blowing up in his world, and then, you look at your brand and how that fits in. And I think it's a beautiful place because it's like a healthy ecosystem. I don't feel like anybody has beef. It's not like Drake and the guy that did the halftime show. There's no beef. Everyone's just kind of putting out what they feel is their vibe and is their image and brand, and that's cool. And it does fit in golf, especially with the golf movement that we're witnessing right now before our very eyes, and that is in the sense of a more lax, gaining popularity, more youth. And I think it's phenomenal. And clothing is a huge aspect of that. I mean, look, I was golfing last week and someone said, you look too cool to be playing golf. But meanwhile, I three-putted. I three-putted. So I said, do I look cool now? No. But it's like, I love that. Golf is on a different type of trajectory right now. And I think it's good for everybody involved. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what
cool.
you said is just a great statement about where we are with golf today, that all of these different brands that can be on the opposite end of the spectrum, and there's room for everybody. There's a business there for everybody. You know, when I first got into the golf business, you couldn't say that. You know, like if you weren't designing this type polo or whatever, there really wasn't room for you. And it's so great to see that the business has grown so much over, you know, through the Tiger era and now through this era, that you know, that there's room for a lot of different golf brands, and golf is a whole lot cooler than it was 10 years ago, for sure.
And I think too, the other cool thing about golf that I don't think a lot of people look at is, you know, and I believe you're there, but your wing foots, which are your classic, your Oakmonts, your Baltusorals. You know, you wear your polos tucked in your khaki shorts, and you play the country club, right? Or you got your other vibes that are the troubadours, the groves, where wear whatever you want. And I think that's cool about golf now too, is because there's a little bit of everything for someone in this game.
Well, and it's just like life, you know. It's like, you know, if you're going to go you're going to go meet your girlfriend's parents, you're going to dress a certain way. You know, if you're going to go hang out with your boys, you're going to dress another way. You know, and as long as you have respect for the traditions at each of these places, then that's all good. You know, it's like, you know, I think it's incredible that, you know, certain places you can go and, you know, the music's already, the speaker's already set up in the cart for you to put the music in and start listening. You know, you don't have to go covert or bring your own speaker or whatever. I love that there's all of that. At some places you play barefoots, the other places you can't even play in sneaker golf shoes. You know, I love that there's something for everybody, or something for every day of the week, you know.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
Because I like it all. I like my kids have to get dressed up when they come to the club. They have to show that respect. They learn, you know, about, you know, the traditions of the game. But I also like going on vacation with them and playing a par 3 course and doing it barefoot and having drinks brought out to us, you know, while we're playing. You know, I like it all.
It's phenomenal. Yeah. I want to touch briefly on the women's line, because we never really spoke of that. And with golf gaining popularity amongst female golfers, clothing is essential. Now, I feel like women, you know, you see some girls out there and they're dressed like traditional wear, but I'm the one that would be a little more on the rebellious side. But so what's your take on the female attire?
Well, so we launched women like a little bit over a year ago, and I didn't want it to be golf at all. I wanted it to be just athletic, like sportswear, stuff that you would live in at home. Yeah. As I said about the men, but even more casual for women. You know, we haven't done any quote unquote golf clothes yet for women, because I don't want to get put in that, you know, in that box where it's just women's golf clothes, because that's a very kind of like confining, not very feminine, not very sexy box, you know. And so we had success launching all these great sweaters and cashmere lounge pants and, you know, great women's t-shirts and stuff like that. And so for next spring, we're going to launch a women's golf line, which will be more performance driven. But I kind of want, like, I find like women's tennis clothes like extremely sexy. Yeah. Like, and I would love to see like women's golf kind of move more in that direction, where, you know, when a woman goes to get dressed for golf, it's feminine and it's sexy and all of those things. And it's not, you know, it's not masculine, you know, like, and I find that sometimes the women's golf wear can be very, you know, men's stuff just done in women's sizes. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was playing, this is about 5 years ago, maybe 6. I was playing in a qualifier at Fox Chapel golf club in Pittsburgh, and my lady came to watch, and she was in a pair of Lululemon yoga pants, which, you know, is pretty widely accepted in the world these days. I mean, women wear yoga pants
everywhere.
So she gets down there, and these old heads could not handle it. I mean, they were like, their minds were like, what in the world? So I was getting ready to tee off, and I see her walking out. I'm like, yo, where are you going? I can't be here. Like, what do you mean? I'm not allowed to walk around the course in these yoga pants. I'm like, that's nice. Because you're a distraction to everybody. But all right, well, I'll catch you in 5 hours. But I'll never forget that. I'm like, that's But you know, going back to your point, there's a dress code maybe to adhere to, and especially at that place, which is a phenomenal golf club. They don't care. There's no exceptions, which that's fine. But I just was curious.
That's why I wanted to get the stuff that everyone likes to wear, that men like women to wear, and that women like to wear, in the line already. And you know, if we have to do a skirt of a certain length and a polo shirt, you know, to fit within the spectrum of golf, we'll do it. But we want to have all the other stuff first.
Gotcha. So before we head to our last segment of the show here, it's been a pleasure. You seem, you know, naturally I haven't met you in person, but just talking with you, Billy, you seem like one hell of a cool dude.
Thanks.
So what does Billy Draddy like to do other than create rad clothing and golf? Like, what's something that you enjoy doing outside of what you do day to day?
I mean, being a father, really.
Yeah.
I've got 4 boys, teenage boys that, you know, are all hockey players and golfers and football players. And, you know, I've spent the last, you know, 15 years being a chauffeur and a coach and a friend, you know, after games. And that is by far my favorite thing. You know, I just went up to Skinny Atlas, you know, this weekend because my son had a qualifier for the New York State team in hockey, and it's like literally beautiful out, and I'm sitting in this rink, you know, for a day and a half, you know, in 30-degree temperature, freezing my ass off when I could be playing golf. But the truth is, I would rather do that than, you know, almost anything else. Yeah. And so that's probably, you know, what I like doing more. And now that my oldest is 20 and my youngest is 14, I see those days starting to narrow. Yeah. So I'm really trying to take advantage of every chance I get to be that guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. No, that keeps you busy for sure.
Yeah.
But we are here at the end of our show here, Billy, and we are going to transition to our tap-in segment presented by Bettinardi Golf. Check them out online at bettinardi.com. Jonathan's going to ask you a couple questions here, Billy, that demand your quick response and, you know, a little fun.
Okay.
All right. Your favorite golf destination?
Internationally, St. Andrews. And domestically, Fisher's Island.
I hear Troach rants about Fisher's Island.
Do you want me to elaborate or just quick answers?
You can give us elaborate. Yeah.
I mean, St. Andrews is like a spiritual experience to me. Like every time I go there, I feel like there's something bigger, higher going on. It's such a cool town, and when you play those golf courses, it's such a perfect experience. And Fisher's Island is just unbelievable. 15 holes that kind of go over the tip of an island. You know, most times you're carrying your own bag, walking. It's just another very kind of purist experience. They don't have any sprinklers on the golf course. Wow. It's all kind of au naturel.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Dream foursome, dead or alive?
Oh, I would have to say that would be tough. No, it actually wouldn't be that tough. So it would be my grandfather, my father, my brother, and me.
That's really cool. Yeah. All right. Advice for younger people wanting to get involved in the clothing business.
Start at the bottom. Like, go, you know, whatever it is, go work in a store, start folding some shirts, learn, you know, from the bottom up. It's like a lot of industries, there's no kind of like fast track to the top. It's like you have to, you know, if you're going to be in the restaurant business, you have to start washing dishes. If you're going to be, you know, an actor, you have to start, you know, getting your ass kicked in auditions and stuff like that. It's just get out there, and there's no barriers. Like anyone can do it. Like, but you know, just start doing it.
Last question: what are you chasing?
Oh, I don't like to chase anything, honestly. Like, chasing seems a little desperate to me. Like, you're on the edge of I like to have things come
Awesome.
and do it. And actually, that's the way we launched our business. Like, we would go in and tell people, like, if you're not ready for this, no problem. I mean, we're not going to go next door and try and sell somebody else. We think you're the right customer, but we also think that this product's right for you. So, but if you're not ready for it yet, no problem. And that actually served us very, very well.
I think that is the first time in 5 years someone's answered that question in that manner of, I don't chase, it comes to me. Now, the other question to that would be, why are we asking that question after 5 years? But it kind of goes in with the show. But that is the first time, Billy, someone said that answer. And that's I like that answer. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Chill. Awesome. Well, man, it was so nice, having you on the show here and talking to you, meeting you. And hopefully at some point,
Yeah, we could play some golf.
Yeah, Pepe will invite us somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, he squeezed a couple of, like, free garments out of me from back in the day, like for his, what was the guy's name? Martin?
Paulie Martin. I'm playing golf with him on Friday.
Yeah.
Squeezed.
Couple of freebies. I thought he was his agent. He wasn't even his agent. He's just funny. I was like,
Right. I love it. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. He's got his own code.
Whenever you guys are in the area, I would love to play. For
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah, we got to do it. And you guys out there tuning in, make sure you check Billy Draddy out online and the other brands because it is phenomenal golf wear. So thank you again.
Thanks, guys.